to you, Azad Saab. Now, three things have become very evident. One, that you have guns out there. Second, they have not come back. Third, they have become part and parcel of the civilian life. So, which the initial hunch which was there that they were not looted but melted away, given away, is very much out there. And this is why, despite the drop boxes and everything which was in place, nothing has come back to the state administration. Second thing which becomes very clear is that there is sort of a parcelization of authority, which is very evident. And the third thing, which is life continues, but it is allowed by the ethnicity leaders, which person, which cavalcade, who goes where and why. So you have seen Naxalite affected areas. How do you define this form of paramilitarization?
Well, I would say that Manipur today has become a militarized state because if you have bunkers and arms guarding every village, obviously it's a militarized situation where there are a number of arms floating, whether genuine or the fake ones, illegal ones. And the other, which is even worse, I would say that the battle lines have extremely hardened, as you said, the ethnicity divide. So the geographical boundaries having been marked, if you see the firing coming from the mountain ranges and the bunkers and the outposts here replying to it, means that these are conditions which are very serious now. After a protracted civil war, the conditions for peace talks, everything evaporate. We were hoping that the violence, with the violence ebbing, there would be a ground created for talks to take place. But these are militarized areas. These have become kind of war zones where each is to its own. And look at some of the things which are pointed out are very, this walkthrough was extremely important and informative. The person says with angst that the scars will be remembered of the person who was, beheaded, of the villages which have been burned, and how they would like to take their villages and would like their people to get back. So he's also talked about the intervention of the center. He's talked about Prime Minister, about speaking on Manipur. Now look at these are coming from the people who are in the war zone. And I think this is an excellent informative piece which should reach Delhi, where it's a call, it's a bleeding cry to impose president's rule. Because if you have an administration which is either perceived inefficient or perceived one-sided, that's not the ground to create peace. That's not the ground to have a peaceful law and order situation. And therefore, I'm saying, and one more thing, Karthike, look at what is happening as a fallout. You have 3,000 refugees in Nagaland and in Assam, but you have 50,000 Mizoram. 35,000 had gone from Myanmar, and 12,000 have already gone from here, and the CM has asked for 10 crores from PM to rehabilitate. And there is a counter call also by the. So this is a time to intervene, and I would once again plead the center to intervene.
Okay, Rami, NCW is there, DCW is there. I think the utmost importance should be paid to the victims of, especially women who have been victim of sexual violence. How do you evaluate the work which is being done? There has to be NCW, there has to be Manipur Commission for Women. No such recordings have taken place. Now, how do you start the process of healing unless and until you record what they have undergone? If you accept what they have undergone, and then the justice takes place, and with that the healing takes place, how do you expect society to heal itself if you don't record those memories? It's like Germany erasing Auschwitz and Krakow. So the generations don't know the ugliness of it. You remember the ugliness of it because it's documented. You feel it, you live through it. So if you don't have those memories, I won't want to use the word preserved, recorded. How do you know that, how will the coming generation know that this happened and it should never happen again?
Kartikeya, of course, what has happened on ground, and especially against the vulnerable groups like women and children, is absolutely unacceptable. I think we all have a consensus on that. But the fact of the matter is that in most of the conflicts, it is the women and children that get impacted the most. And also in conflicts like this, look at where it started with removal of illegal settlements, and then the scheduled tribe inclusion recommendation. And look where it's reached. What do women and children have to do with it? But when a conflict becomes this vicious, this heated, and this prolonged, unfortunately, the fringe elements do take over, the criminal elements do take over, and we lose a sense of our humanity. And imagine that these are in states where women play such a forward role, where women are known to be very strong. Of course, there has to be accountability in this case. There is no denying that. There has been delay in processes. There is no denying that. And there has to be some sort of rehabilitation, and there has to be immense amount of trust building exercises, because I think even if this happens with one woman on ground, the impact that it has on how a woman feels secure in states like this, or in a situation, or in an environment like this, will have an impact on all the women in the state. So of course, these measures have to be taken. However, when we talk about recording any of these incidents, or remembering any of these incidents, we also must remember that it has to be done in a way, it has to be done at a time. And when I say this, I don't mean that accountability should not be asked for, and justice should not be given, and the right procedures and processes to rehabilitate women who have been impacted in any way should not happen. What I am saying is that visuals or stories that are absolutely conscience shaking, like we saw a couple of days ago, there is a time when they should be exposed, or the public should be exposed to it, because the chances of it again lighting any sort of memory that results in violence erupting again should be avoided at this point at any cost. Even though we are seeing a tapering of incidents, violent incidents going down, the fact is emotions are still very high. So the kind of visuals that go out, or the kind of messaging that goes out, has to be very, very careful at this point. And this in no mean, by no means do I mean that we should wipe it out of our memory. No, there will be a time where we will be able to discuss this openly, where we will be able to seek justice on all levels without any repercussion happening. I am very sure of that. And I think that is the time, that these cases can be discussed in detail. I must also remind you that we've had conflicts like this in Manipur before, and even then it was the women who were impacted, but it was also the women who took center stage to call for peace. And I think that is the kind of voices that we need to hear again today.